Greetings, dear friends. Welcome to this live stream for Empty Cloud Monastery, New Jersey. I'd like to begin, as usual, by paying homage to our teacher, the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammam sangham namasami. So welcome again, dear friends. Welcome to those of you who have joined the live stream already, and also to everyone who tunes in later. Very good day to you. So I'm aware that in the United States, where most of you are, it's quite a significant day today, as the election results are firming up. And so I feel it's actually, in a way, coincidentally, but I'm glad, suitable to speak about ways in which we touch in with reality, ways in which we ground ourselves, ways in which we make sense of this world, the world around us, the world within. And the Buddha gave us all the guidance we need, friends, as many of you know. Looking at the suttas, looking at the teachings, have all the guidance, how to chart our course, how to live peacefully and happily, wherever we are, in whatever situation we're in. And some might say this has a flavor of selfishness or indifference, but not so. If we can cultivate well-being here and peace here, then this is really of benefit to the all. It's of benefit to all beings, because worrying and stressing here is not helpful and doesn't serve ourselves, doesn't serve others. But to do what we can to bring in good qualities and to, in a way, step back from interaction in unskillful ways in the world is a great gift, a great boon for us and for others. So today I'm going to talk about body awareness as refuge. As you know, in Buddhism we have the three refuges, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And these indeed are refuges. We can say they really signify the refuge of awareness, of mindfulness, of presence, of this very ability we have to tune into what is real, to let go of what is not true, what is not beneficial. This is refuge in Buddha. And so body awareness is really a way of taking refuge in the Buddha. It's a way of taking refuge in the Dhamma, that which is true, that which is genuine, which is leading us towards the letting go of delusion and a movement towards wisdom and understanding and insight. A refuge in Sangha, a refuge in the collective, the goodness of people everywhere, the common and universal inclination toward Nibbana, that is the inclination towards happiness. Sometimes people can be very confused about what brings happiness in this world, but nevertheless, that quest for happiness is, perhaps one could say, a universal human quest, which is why the Buddha's first noble truth is the truth of suffering, that there is, we find ourselves in a situation where that happiness is elusive. There is a difficulty sustaining or finding or maintaining happiness and well-being. And there is this quest then for all of us, whether we're conscious of it or not, to seek the good, to seek happiness, first of all. And through confusion, people can seek their happiness in the not good. But when we really start to wake up to our situation, then we can begin to recognize that inclining towards the good is the way to happiness. Anyway, I'm going to speak about body awareness today because I'd like to invite and encourage you to make a refuge here. So we live in a world of great mental activity, so much to think about, so many ideas, so many views and opinions, so many ways in which we proliferate around our situations. We try to make sense of the world, don't we, friends, through thinking about it and try to find our way through cultivating attitudes, views, opinions, ways in which we understand things. And all of this is, as the Buddha said, not leading towards greater clarity and wisdom or happiness, mostly, almost entirely, in fact. Why? Because, as the Buddha said, whatever we think is the truth, the reality is always other than that. So this very powerful, pertinent teaching is something to deeply consider. Whatever we think is true, the truth is always other than that. How can we get to the truth? How can we grasp reality? How can we find authenticity, integrity through thinking? It's very difficult. It's better for us to put that aside and come home to the actuality of the temple that we inhabit here and now. That is the body. So to work with what we've got, to work with the mind and to work with the body. To work with the body is to ground ourselves, is to let go of a whole lot of ideation, a whole lot of mental activity, a whole lot of confusion, to actually let it go. So, of course, it's natural for us, in a way, alas, but it's natural for us to believe our thoughts, to feel that our opinions are correct, because they're our opinions, so they must be right. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. And this is very normal and natural, but it is a danger for us, friends. The mind has the tendency to narrow down on reality, to see through a very limited lens. It's like being very short-sighted, fumbling around, not really knowing quite what is the right direction. The mind is very limited, paritta chitta. We human beings have very small minds. They're also very amazing in their capacity to move, to take in, to proliferate, to, it's the variety, the multiplicity of possibilities in the thinking realm is truly endless, and yet the mind is limited. And so we can just consider the possibility that whatever we think may not actually be true, may not actually be leading us towards wisdom and insight, towards freedom, towards happiness. And so the invitation the Buddha gave again and again is to, in many ways, come home to this temple, this body, this felt sense, this aliveness, this embodiment, this experience of embodiment, to investigate here. And to bring the attention to the body is to let go, as I said, of the mind and thinking, to let go of the active surface level of the mind, to put that aside, to not give it importance or due attention, but to instead bring the attention to bear on our physical, felt, sentient experience. And so, of course, when we meditate, this is really what we do. We sit, close the eyes often, and bring the attention to feel, what is it that gives me a sense of being here, this body, this sense of the place where we are. It's the geography, it's the space that's inhabited here, the consciousness aware of this form, this rupa, this body here. And so we can begin to feel how it is, to open to the very honest and sincere and authentic sense of presence here. The body doesn't deceive us. It's not confused. It doesn't tell lies. The body is scrupulously honest. We feel what we feel. Pleasant feelings don't masquerade as unpleasant, or vice versa. Neutral feeling is simply neutral feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And so it really behooves us to dive into this ocean of body awareness and to feel out what's actually happening here. Particularly helpful, not just on the cushion, not just when we're meditating, but throughout the day, whenever we find ourselves getting caught up in some sort of sense of complexity, can lead to strong feelings of upset or outrage or a need to assert, anger and so forth. When we're caught up in thinking that is coloured and tinged by desire or aversion, when we find ourselves moved by our thoughts, the conversations that we have with people, the views that we have when they're challenged by others, and that the amount of emotion and energy and stress that can arise for us, these are times when we can very usefully pay attention, direct the attention, kind of redirect the attention. How does it feel? What's happening in the body? When we're triggered, something wants to be said, something wants to be done. An argument is starting to arise in the heart, in the mind. Whenever we're triggered and emotions come up for us, the best we can do for ourselves, friends, is to pause right there and to feel, allow ourselves to focus on how it feels. How do I feel? What is happening in the body? Because when we're able to ground ourselves through body awareness in this way, we can immediately notice how rather than reactivity, there's a calming, there's a presence, there's an interest, a curiosity about what is actually happening. And we're no longer adding to the problems, adding to the suffering in this realm. We're no longer reacting, we are practicing. And if we ever find ourselves, getting annoyed, getting upset, getting irritable, getting full of desire, full of sorrow, any kind of affective, painful feeling, then we're not practicing. And we can recognize that and come home, dive again into the ocean of feeling and be present for ourselves, be present for what's actually happening. This is the healing, this is the calming, This is the peacemaking. This is the way to happiness, to know this heart and mind, and to allow peace to manifest. Whenever we do anything at all, if we're acting out of a sense of negativity or desire, then the results are not likely to be very good. Try as we might, it's very poignant. A lot of good people are doing a lot of good things, but if the heart is not at peace, the results could be better. If we want to be really effective as an agent for good in this world, first we need to make peace here, come home to the body, and allow ourselves to be present for whatever feelings arise, and allow the peace then to manifest. And only from that place can we really be agents of goodness in this world. And oftentimes, when we're allowing this presence, allowing ourselves to be grounded in awareness, body awareness, to be anchored in the non-reactivity of that, this is when we can really taste freedom and still be in the world in a way that is not creating more dispute, more hostility, more pain, more suffering, more aggravation. And so the Buddha gave us all sorts of ways to ground ourselves in body awareness. We can come to the breath, to begin to notice the breath, not just when we're meditating, but at these times, whenever we find ourselves triggered, whenever we find ourselves reacting, getting het up, getting caught up in the world around us, to come back to the breath. Can I feel the breath? While I'm having this conversation and I'm starting to feel that stress and tension in the body arising again, can I come back to the breath and let that be my focus? Just to breathe consciously is to let go of all the hindrances, of all the reactivity, all the negativity, all the need to dive into suffering, to be able to relax. And in this relaxation, this gift of peace, there is the opportunity for wisdom to arise. So we can get to learn from all our experiences through paying attention to the breath, or simply paying attention to the body as a whole, or paying attention to some part of the body. That redirecting of attention to body is all that it takes. And there are so many ways that we can do this. Can I feel the weight of the body? Can I feel the effect of gravity here? Can I notice the posture? Sitting, standing, lying down, or walking? Just to be aware of that is enough to bring us back to the ground, to bring us back to that peaceful possibility of presence. The Buddha also invited us, didn't he, to consider this body, what it's actually made up of. This reality check helps so much for us to let go of the sense of me and mine, that the personhood here, which is nothing but a fabrication, friends. It's something the mind creates moment by moment, this sense of personhood, continuity, self, somebody here. And all of this, of course, is one of the roots of our suffering and our turmoil in this world, because we then have some kind of, stake in it. We have some kind of need to protect something or to assert something in this world. This is a fabrication, this sense of self. And when we look at the body, scrutinize the body, consider what it's made up of, all the different parts, what's under the skin, then we can let go of that investment in somebody being here who needs to fight and strive and compete and struggle. A whole lot of confusion can be done away with when we pay attention to the body and consider its parts. Consider, the heart, the liver, the lungs. It's a bit like our, political systems. The surface looks a certain way. Looks quite nice in some ways, just the surface, the appearances can be attractive even. But when we peel away the surface, we go under the surface, we can then see, it's actually appears to us to be quite ugly in a way. It's not really ugly or beautiful, it's just what it is. But there is a kind of shock factor when we go beneath the surface of things often. We can be quite appalled and shocked by the appearance. Nowadays, we get to see war, violence, and harm, even genocide, playing out. People are filming on their phones and sharing images of horrific destruction of human life. And we get to see bodies thrown around in all states of dismemberment and appalling kind of images of bodies being torn apart by bombs. Let's contemplate these things, friends. Let's contemplate this body, its vulnerability, what it's made of, how shocking it can look when it's broken up into pieces in different ways. And let ourselves appreciate the reality of what these bodies are really made of. And let ourselves, in that way, give ourselves the opportunity, to let go of the sense of ownership here, of the sense of control, of the sense of wanting to identify with this. This is not really our home. This is the temporary residence of this moment that we can use for liberation, to feel it, to be in here, to be embodied, to be awake to this body. But let's recognize that these bodies are so easily destroyed, and that these bodies, even if they survive without being victims of violence and harm, disease, which comes to so many of us, if we get to live into old age, even then we can appreciate, the changes that happen and then the inevitable passing away of this body. And so the Buddha also invited us, as part of the body awareness, to contemplate the death of the body, all bodies, and particularly this one. What is its trajectory? So to consider this. How is it when a body is dead? How does it look? What happens to it over time? How it falls apart and decays, and how it ends up, like ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It ends up breaking up entirely through a very slow process of all the soft and less durable body parts quite quickly disintegrating, and then the skeleton held together by tendons and sinews for a while, and then those also disappearing as the separate bones lie around scattered and slowly turn to dust. So to consider this is the movement of the body, this is its nature, and how then can we make it mine, make it me? How can we hold to this as something to identify with, something so vulnerable, something so mortal, something so impermanent? And so these body contemplations cover, all the aspects of the Dhamma that we need to investigate. We get to fully appreciate dukkha, the suffering here. We get to fully appreciate anatta, the impossibility of making it self or belonging to a self, and the constant change here. So these aspects of reality will become ever more clear to us as we ground ourselves in body awareness, friends. When we live in our heads, when we give our attention to thinking, too much of the time we can simply be lost, like being lost in the desert. It's confusing. We cannot make sense of the way things are through thinking. So let's take this encouragement to remember the body, come back to the body, feel out what's happening, and allow body awareness to wake us up to the reality of the way things are, and allow body awareness to enable us to avoid the pitfalls, of reacting to thoughts, ideas, concepts, our limited understanding of the world around us, to save ourselves from that. I'd like to bring in this beautiful sutta, Kaya Gata Sati Sutta, the mindfulness of the body sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. It's number 119. I posted it in the chat. This sutta is so beautiful. It encourages us in so many ways to come back to the body, give attention to the body. And here the Buddha says, anyone who's developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body includes all of the skillful qualities that play a part in realization. He says, anyone who brings to mind the great ocean will include all of the streams that run down into it. So this body is the great ocean for us. And truly, isn't it so that the more we pay attention to the body, the more we can recognize the fullness of this experience. As the Buddha said elsewhere, the entire universe is to be found within the framework of this mind and body. So here is the place where we will gain insight into the world, where we will see the world clearly, where we can free ourselves from suffering here. So let the body be our gateway, our doorway. It is enough. It is enough to contemplate the body. There is no other practice that is required to incline the heart and mind toward Nibbana. Inexorably, surely this is a way that is freeing ourselves up from confusion, delusion, and inclining us always towards the Dhamma, towards the real, which inclines us toward freedom, toward Nibbana. So it is enough. And that is something to remember when we are thrown around by life, confused and disorientated in this really crazy world. As the Buddha said, we're all crazy until we are fully liberated. So we're in a kind of a madhouse, friends. We perhaps recognize that from time to time, if not all the time. And so we want to take great care. Take great care of this one, this poor crazy person who's reeling around in confusion, but also to take care of all the other inmates of the madhouse by paying attention to this body, this process, by waking up to reality here and having great compassion for all the suffering that's going on around us. I'd like to share with you some similes from this beautiful sutta, Mindfulness of the Body Sutta. The Buddha gives some beautiful images to explain, to clarify for us the benefits of body awareness. He says, when a person has not developed mindfulness of the body, Mara that is delusion, confusion, ignorance, will find a vulnerability and get hold of them. He says, suppose a person were to throw a heavy ball at a mound of wet clay. Would that heavy stone ball find entry into that mound of wet clay? Yes. In the same way, when we've not developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara will find a vulnerability in this one. And he also gives the image of a dried up, weathered log or twig, piece of wood, and a person can come along and can make a fire out of that piece of wood. He says, a person who's not mindful of the body is like a dry piece of wood. It's very easy for us to get triggered, to get heated up, to be put on fire when we're not mindful of what's actually happening. Just like a dry piece of wood can be ignited so easily. And he also gives the image of the empty water jar, which can be filled with water so easily because there's loads of space in it. In the same way, someone who's not aware of the body can very easily be filled up with all the bombardment of ideas and, triggers, the ways in which we can get caught up in the world and cause even more trouble and strife than there is already. And then the Buddha gives the images to explain, to give us the idea of how it is when we have body awareness. And he says, it's like a wooden door made of heartwood. If you chuck a ball at that, there won't even be a dent in that door. This is like the mind of someone who's aware of the body. There's a impermeability. We cannot be impacted by shocks, by bad news, by difficult situations. We're not going to be shaken. We're not going to be dented. We're not going to be touched, harmed, traumatized by these things. And in the same way, if one has body awareness, it's like rather than a dry stick that can be easily ignited, we're more like a wet, sappy piece of wood or a stick. Impossible to light it, impossible to make a fire there. Whatever the provocation, friends, whatever the challenge coming at us from others or from the situation around us, however difficult, inflaming our situation or the conversation may be, we're not going to get ignited. We're not going to burn. We are like imbued with water, with moisture. This is the effect of mindfulness of the body, permeating every part of the mind and body, so we cannot be triggered in these ways. And another simile, converse to the empty jug. Someone who's aware of the body is like a jug full of water. Nothing can be added to that. The outside world or experiences or the conditions around us cannot ruffle, cannot impact our essential peace and well-being. We are not going to allow that to happen. When we're aware of the body, we can immediately notice any kind of reactivity as it begins to arise. Some hint of tension, some slight rise in temperature, some quickening of the breath, some tightening of the belly, and we notice it straight away with body awareness, and we will then start to pay attention to this manifestation of imbalance, of reactivity, and it will not grow into any kind of negative feeling, impulse, or upset in the heart and mind. How valuable, how wonderful is body awareness. What a safety it is for us. I'd like to go further in this sutta. The Buddha says that somebody who has body awareness is able to develop 10 benefits. There are 10 blessings, benedictions that we experience as a result of body awareness. And just to go through briefly these 10, the Buddha says, yes, you can expect 10 benefits when mindfulness of body has been cultivated, developed, and practiced, made a vehicle and a basis, kept up, consolidated, and properly implemented. So the sense of this is a cultivation, friends. This is something we want to be developing day by day in our practice and let it spill over into our every experience, every moment of our lives, that this body awareness is a cultivation for us. It is where we live. It is where the mind is rooted and grounded in this body, feeling, living body. He says these 10 benefits are, firstly, that we prevail over desire and discontent. We live having mastered desire and discontent whenever they arise. We can't be caught out. We can't be fooled by Mara. We're not vulnerable to the push and pull of liking and disliking, because we immediately notice in the body that reactivity and immediately nip it in the bud. And we stay on an even keel. Secondly, we prevail over fear and dread when we live having mastered body awareness. We will not be victims of fear or dread here. We can endure cold, heat, hunger and thirst, the touch of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, reptiles, rude and unwelcome criticism, and we can put up with physical pain, even sharp, severe, acute, unpleasant, disagreeable, even life-threatening physical pain. So when we're bombarded with disease, when we come to old age, and there are so many ways in which we experience suffering in the body, and when it comes to the time of death, whatever difficult feelings arise, whatever pain there is in the body, because of our body awareness, we are so used to being present for whatever arises and making peace with that. And so we can continue to practice in the same way. And it's not that we don't suffer, it's not that we don't feel pain. If someone's causing harm to us physically, yes, we may feel pain, but we will avoid the pain and suffering of reactivity, of trauma, of hatred, of all the different ways in which we can react to physical pain if our mind and heart is untrained in this way. We can simply feel the pain and make peace with that. This is the end of suffering, friends. That was the third. The next, we can experience through body awareness the 4 absorptions, the jhana, the ways in which the mind can focus and let go of suffering, let go of the hindrances, and even to let go of the body. So we can experience the various jhana, the states of focused, peaceful, equanimous abiding, where the mind is very still, unmoving, thoughts have quieted down, the body is tranquil, relaxed, the mind is tranquil and relaxed, and we can even come to that understanding of the end of the body, where the mind is quite separate from the body. We can experience the end of the body in this way, like a kind of death within life. There is no body, and to appreciate that and to reflect upon that And the Buddha goes on to explain how it's possible to develop greater powers of the mind, psychic powers, the understanding of the minds of others through our own wisdom. We can look around us and perceive how it is for others. And we can also perceive how it is that we've come to be here in this way. What is the karma? What is the cause of this life? What has come before to result in this experience now? And so in this way we gain greater and greater degrees of wisdom and insight through our body awareness. And finally, and most importantly, the Buddha says, through awareness, mindfulness of the body, we can realize the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life. To be able to experience the purpose of wisdom, the ultimate wisdom, that is the wisdom of letting go of greed, hatred, and delusion, to finish with it, to do away with these root defilements, and to be able to open to the reality of Nibbana. All of this is possible through body awareness. If we cultivate, develop, and practice this, make it a vehicle and a basis, keep it up, consolidate, and properly implement this practice. Awam. So thank you, dear friends, for lending ear. I hope this is helpful to really take encouragement to develop body awareness as an important part of our practice, of our meditation practice, but then also to develop this awareness throughout our lives, every moment, unless when we're in deep sleep. So I'd like to have a look at the chat now. Just turn my attention over to this. And yeah, thank you for being here today. Good to see you there. Gita, Matthias, Bhumika, Karuna, Olga. You let me know how the sound is, Olga. I turned up my mic. And also Joram, Madeline, also in the UK. Hi, Madeline. Sud, Manal. I'm just looking through, friends, to see if there are any questions or comments to share, to usefully share with you. Thank you for all your comments there, Joram. I'm taking them in. I don't see any questions there, but thank you for it all that you've shared. Hi, Maria. Okay, I have a comment here from Sud. Looks good to share. Thank you, Sud. Okay, dear Ayya, I read on a website recently that Buddhanussati can take one all the way to stream entry. Is this true based on the Pali Canon? Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Sud, for yours. Yes, Buddhanussati. My understanding is that there are a number of focused ways of practice that can take us all the way to Nibbana. And I think this is very interesting. You know, here in the Kayagata Sati Sutta that I've just been reading a little bit from, Body Awareness Sutta, here the Buddha's really saying, yep, body awareness is all you need to take you the whole way. To follow the path of body awareness is to follow the path. Also, the sutta that just precedes this Majjhima 119 is Majjhima 118 Anapanasati Sutta. And in the same way, in this magnificent sutta, which is pointing to the development of breath awareness as practice, in the Anapanasati Sutta, the Buddha also says, this is all you need to do in order to follow the path completely from beginning to end. And in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha says this is the way. And so there are many different doorways to the realization of Nibbana. And I find it really encouraging that we can take two pieces from this, that Buddhanusati or Anapanasati or Kayagata Sati, that body, breath awareness, contemplating the qualities of the Buddha, considering that, contemplating the qualities of the Dhamma, Dhammanusati, that these practices, each one of them is pointing in the same direction as all the others. And so we can, first of all, we can choose a practice, or we can find a number of practices to use for this process of following the path, or we can appreciate that we only have to very simply follow one course, have one focus, put our heart in one practice, and know that this is enough. So I really love that there are many ways, and also there is only one way that's required for any particular person at any particular time. There are many, many ways to meditate also, friends, many different ways to practice meditation, depending upon the kind of mind you have, the kind of abilities that you uncover through meditation practice, just to find out for each one of us what works best for this one. And we can notice that, some of us incline very much towards, say, breath awareness and stilling the mind and coming to the samadhi practice more, jhana practice, gaining our insights in this way. For others, it may be that body awareness is the most fruitful way to practice, the way in which the mind most easily engages, easy to pay attention to the body, to be perhaps scanning the body, or to be paying attention to some particular part of the body. For example, a person could spend their whole life of practice paying attention to the belly. How is it? How is it in any moment, resting the attention in the belly, in the abdominal area? It's enough. It's enough. Everything is there for us. There we can appreciate anicca, anatta, dukkha. There we can still the mind. There we can grow in wisdom through our insight practice, vipassana. And so it goes on. And so I feel that we can all take heart, because if you find that in any way your attention to the Dhamma, your love of the Dhamma, your meditation practice is flagging, is not as engaging, you're turning away in any way from this path of practice, then remember there are so many other things to consider, so many other useful tools. There's a whole repertoire that we can develop in order to enable ourselves to keep walking this path. So thank you, Sud, for your comment. And yeah, Buddhanusati is a very valid way of practicing, and it covers all the bases as well, as my understanding. Hi, Fadisi. Hi, Pasika Metika. Welcome. Tien Tong. Hello. The 552. Hi. And I have a comment here from Karuna. 2 comments. Thanks, Karuna. Saying, just being with dukkha this morning, these 2 stand out to me from this teaching, that they prevail over fear and dread, and live having mastered fear and dread wherever they arose. And very much we get to realize the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life. Thank you so much, Karuna, for highlighting, these beautiful aspects of this sutta. This, friends, is such a wonderful sutta to read. Please go away and look up Majjhima 119 and give yourselves the gift of reading this sutta in its fullness in a quiet place at a quiet time. May may this possibility be there for you. Appreciating these highlights here, Karina, so many others also. But I do feel that, the fear and dread that we can so easily be assailed by, how otherwise can we kind of cope, how otherwise can we function in a good way? How otherwise can we stay on the path, to not allow ourselves to be drawn in by all the confusion and difficulty and challenge around us. The world, friends, is not getting easier, is it? The world is a place of great peril. It's a place of great danger. I'm sure it always has been, and I'm afraid it always will be, simply because, as the Buddha has told us, samsara is a manifestation. This world we live in, this realm of being, birth and death, is a manifestation of greed, hatred, and delusion. And so we have the place here to be able to appreciate this reality. We have this opportunity as human beings, as people who are practicing the Dhamma, to fully realize this. And in fully realizing and understanding the situation that we're in, there is the possibility of stepping away from it, of nibbana, of freedom from all this suffering. But meantimes we're here and we have these hearts and minds that may not be fully liberated, and we are going to be impacted. We're going to be swayed by experiences. We're going to find that the conditions bring up for us a lot of difficult, you could say, distorted, or kind of, there's the risk of us not seeing clearly all the time, and so finding ourselves in states of reactivity and experiencing afflictive emotions. So fear and dread, also anger, also sadness, and all the gamut of afflictive emotions will be manifesting for us in order, friends, for us, or we can make it so that they can manifest in order to show us where there's still some work to be done. And let's take this encouragement, yes, from this sutta to recognize that through awareness, coming back to the body, cultivating mindfulness, we can overcome all these afflictive emotions. And so we can turn things around, isn't it, Karina? We can turn things around and we can make these experiences, these difficulties, into our friends, because they are pointing all the time for us. This is the way, this is the path, directing us back to mindfulness. Allow ourselves not to get caught up, friends, in afflictive emotions, but to let them be our allies, pointing the way to insight. Thank you so much, Karina, for those highlights from the sutta. And just got time for one more, I think. And we have from Jay. Thank you, Jay. A question: what would be one daily act of body awareness that you would recommend I take into my lay life going forward? Thank you for your guidance. Yes, thank you, Jay. That's a great question to finish with. What could we consider bringing into our everyday lives going forward? And I would say it depends on the person, but whatever you notice, sitting here right now, looking at the screen, maybe listening, maybe to this live stream, what tells you that you have a body right now? How do you know you're here? What can be felt in this moment? Just to see, what is there? And, you know, the thing about body awareness is it can be sometimes, you know, its very simplicity and immediacy can strangely make it a bit elusive for us because it's so present and so real and so immediate for us. So, not to miss that. So, what's actually felt right now? I'll just share for my example. My example here is I can feel the heels of my feet. There's a pressure. I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor, and I can feel a warmth and pressure on my feet because I'm kind of sitting on my feet. There it is. And this is with me as I'm speaking and as I've been sitting. I'm also aware of the belly because this is my cultivation over many years. So I'm always feeling the base of the abdomen and how it is as it moves with the breath. And I can feel my shoulders. There's a bit of tension on the left, and there's some coolness of the air touching the body and the breath in the chest, in the belly. So, friends, whatever you may be feeling right now, as you're engaging with this teaching, as you're sitting or in any posture, maybe lying down in the space that you're in, what can be felt right now? And let's keep cultivating this awareness. When, Jay, I'm walking, it will be the feet touching the ground. When I'm outside in nature, it will be the touch of the air on the face and the hands. Whatever we feel, it doesn't have to be subtle. It can be subtle. It can just be the breath, or it can be very obvious, like the weight of the body, like the touch, whatever body parts are touching one another, or the touch, you know, of the clothing, or the touch of the ground, or the chair. Just that is enough. And if we direct our attention again and again to this felt experience, this embodied experience, then we will find, you know, that whenever anything happens around us that is in any way upsetting in the sense of creating negative reactions within us, irritability, anger, hostility, fear, or a reaching towards, you know, some kind of feeling of wanting something, longing for something, leaning towards something. Whenever we feel any kind of reactivity whatsoever, when we have body awareness, we will notice the feeling of that. It will be in the body will be reacting first. Before the mind even registers a reaction, the body will be there, triggered. You know, there'll be some manifestation of tension, unpleasant feeling, pleasant feeling, leaning in towards, and to notice that. And when we have developed and cultivated and made a vehicle of body awareness, we will be able to notice straight away when there's any kind of trigger whatsoever. And when we notice it, we get interested in what's happening, and we are safe, friends. This is the refuge for us. We are not going to get caught up in reacting through speech or action or even thought. We're here and we're aware of pleasant or unpleasant feeling or even neutral feeling. That's enough to keep us safe. Safe from harm, safe from unwholesomeness, safe from confusion. When we're in this place of even-mindedness, aware of what's actually happening, we get to see the bigger picture and we get to grow in wisdom, in insight. And so in this way, friends, may we maintain our awareness of body, bring it into every moment of our lives, be free from reactivity, not making any more karma, but rather growing in wisdom and coming out of the conditioning, seeing it for what it is, stepping out from the rat race, from the treadmill, from the endless birth and rebirth, and letting it all go, stepping surely and inexorably towards Nibbana. So friends, we'll finish here, and let's conclude as always with 3 sadhus. Great respect and honoring of our teacher, the Buddha. Sadhu, 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 anumodana.